What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video I'm going to be discussing and breaking down some of the latest reveals which have just dropped as part of this week's Transformers Tuesday, and they finally relate to the upcoming video game Transformers Reactivate. Now, this game did see the release of an official teaser trailer that I believe was dropped by Splash Damage around about this time last year. However, since that teaser trailer we have heard next to nothing about the development of this game. It's also gone through something like 3 different name changes, so not really a great sign. But finally, Hasbro have officially acknowledged that they will be producing a toy line to coincide with the drop of this game, and I am so excited because these figures finally give us our first official look at how the character designs for some of the Transformers will look once we eventually do get the game. So let's get stuck into it. They revealed in total 4 characters that will be distributed in 2 exclusive 2-packs. I believe they're going to be a limited run, with Studio Series Gamer Edition now being a thing. In all honesty, I'm not quite sure why they never found themselves in the main line, especially as they're 4 super popular characters. But let's get stuck into the first 2-pack. It is a Starscream and a Bumblebee. Now, whilst the teaser trailer never revealed much about the plot of the game, I do know Splash Damage gave us a brief description, which was something along the lines of the Autobots and the Decepticons teaming up on a post-apocalyptic Earth to face off against the Quintessons, and these designs really do seem like they would fit right in with that post-apocalyptic vibe. And can I just say, guys, that whilst the teaser trailer never really had any proper wow moments, the aesthetic was super promising. It seemed to be a really mature, dark, gritty Transformers story, much like we had been seeing from some of those War for Cybertron / Fall of Cybertron games. So I am so excited for when it does eventually release, as I was brought up on those original games. Those High Moon Studio games were the peak of my childhood. But let's discuss this Starscream and Bumblebee set. So we're going to talk about Starscream first of all, just because his design isn't a major departure when compared to some of the more recent Starscreams. I do believe the design team mentioned that these Reactivate 2-packs have been designed with a little more intensity than some of the Studio Series and Legacy products. So the details, the paint applications and the engineering should all be super collector grade, which is brilliant. And to be fair, I'd like to see that actually in the Studio Series lineup, but you can tell that these have been designed so well. There are next to no hollow pieces on this Starscream. The design seems so strong. For the most part, I can't find any obvious jet mode pieces. One thing which is quite interesting about his design overall would be the left hand side is kind of different to the right hand side. It seems like he has maybe been assembled with a mismatch of pieces, because the right hand side has a lot of black. The wings gone black, the shoulders gone black, the forearm armor and the hip armor. So maybe Starscream has been infected. And another thing which is interesting is his eyes are also blue. So maybe this does have something to do with the plot. Maybe he has properly switched sides to the Autobots. I guess only time will tell. But I love the wing design. It can be flared out much like the Transformers Prime Starscream, so that's pretty banging. And in terms of jet mode, whilst it's not too different from some of the more recent Starscream designs, it also looks really awesome. Super clean undercarriage, which is excellent. The engineering really does seem to be top tier on these figures, but it is really here that you can see that almost battle damage, that infected side. So definitely excited to learn the backstory of that. But now let's check out Bumblebee, who I arguably surprisingly think is the more interesting out of the 2, as this has to be one of the most drastic redesigns we have so far seen for this character, and I think he looks badass. This is a Bumblebee which I can imagine being thrown into this post-apocalyptic Earth and just kicking Decepticon or maybe Quintesson ass. He's looking brilliant, and one huge improvement that I see with this design when compared to how he appeared in the most recent live-action movie is the robot mode actually integrates some of those off-road armor components into the robot mode design. The chest is armorized, the shoulders are armorized, which I think is a great move, and the robot mode just looks so solid. I like how the head is easily recognizable as being G1 Bumblebee. He even has a pair of door wings, which is a great throwback to the live-action movies. This is a really cool bee, maybe one of the coolest Bumblebee Deluxe figures that has been released in a very long time. And then when we check out the vehicle mode, equally as interesting as the robot mode. It's It's an off-road, bug, militaristic looking vehicle. I think it looks wicked. He's got this serrated sun visor, this heavy-duty bumper, this roll cage which wraps around the entirety of the rear windows, the side windows and the roof. It looks awesome. The wheels are massive. The paint detail, everything about this I think looks banging. So definitely a really interesting take on Bumblebee. Cannot wait to see him in the game, and I do believe we briefly see his hands towards the end of that teaser trailer. So maybe he will be one of the main characters of the game, which does make sense because Bumblebee is one of the more popular Transformers characters. And then as we check out the box art, as I mentioned, these two will be packaged as a pair. The packaging looks sick. It's awesome to finally have some official confirmation that this game will be called Transformers Reactivate, as I think it's gone through like 3 name changes now. But as you can see on the left and the right hand side, we have our first proper CG renders of how the characters will actually look in the game, which is awesome. And as you check out the back of the box, the images are super tiny, but you can see some screen caps actually taken from the gameplay. It looks super impressive. You've got Starscream flying overhead Bumblebee. You've got them both in robot mode, seemingly kicking ass together. This is going to be a crazy game, I hope. And these figures at least look really awesome. But dare I say, the second 2-pack may just be a little more impressive, as it has a Voyager class Optimus Prime and a Deluxe class Soundwave. Now, much like the previous pack, there is one character here which is slightly more interesting than the other, which I think this time around is Soundwave. So we're going to discuss Optimus Prime first of all. It's a very similar Optimus Prime design to what we have seen recently, but it is nonetheless such a banging take on the character. He looks jacked. This is a Prime which I can imagine absolutely tearing up the battlefield. He comes equipped with a matrix of leadership embedded within his chest windows, an Energon axe, an ion blaster, and much like Starscream and Bumblebee, the robot mode design is solid. There doesn't appear to be any excess truck pieces just hanging off. The robot mode seems really tightly compact. I love the way the chest looks, super jacked in its design. It is just a really cool looking Prime. To be fair guys, for the best part of this year, I've been claiming that the Rise of the Beast Studio Series Optimus has been the best Prime release so far, but this may just be better than that. I think it's going to cause some tough competition. Its robot mode and truck mode looks awesome. I mean, check out that truck mode. Unlike Rise of the Beast Prime, a complete clean truck bed, and this thing looks like it would absolutely obliterate you if it charges at you in the battlefield. This is a Prime which I can imagine whipping out that maximum overdrive phrase and just plowing through his enemies. It looks sick. I do quite like the battle damage that we have on that almost serrated bumper piece, and one thing which is cool about that detail is that it completely vanishes in robot mode. So for those of you that aren't a fan of the battle damage, in robot mode you don't have to worry about it at all. So a banging looking Optimus Prime. But then as we check out Soundwave, I think his design is a little more interesting. Now, I know it's not alien to have Soundwave transform into an SUV, because I believe he used that form in the War for Cybertron game and the Transformers Cyberverse series, but it is cool to see him not transform into a cassette player, because that is something they easily could have done, because the robot mode is very G1 faithful. You get the classic cassette deck embedded within the chest, which does not eject. It would have been awesome had it ejected, and it also would have been cool had he included Laserbeam, as that character will undeniably show up in the game. But he includes the classic over-the-shoulder cannon, the concussion blaster. I, for the most part, really like the robot mode, although the legs do come across as being a little lanky, but we haven't had a proper full CG render revealed of this guy yet, so for all I know, this could be completely accurate. And then when we check out the truck mode, this thing looks awesome. Super militarized, and that's one thing I've noticed about all of these characters, is even in vehicle mode, they look like they could deal damage. I actually quite like how that cassette deck, that chest unit, becomes the front part of the truck. Much like B, we get that serrated windshield. I love how the weapons can attach on top. The detail as well for the top I think is on point. These are just some wicked looking 4-packs, and it is a shame that they will be released in limited quantities, and as I said, at the moment not a part of the main line, especially as there are rumours we will see some Studio Series Reactivate figures next year. So hopefully they will see releases if they are hot sellers, but who knows? those. As we very quickly check out the box art, we do see some CG renders taken from the game of Soundwave and from Prime. That Prime head sculpt looks brilliant. And then as we flip around to the back, much like the Starscream and B set, we have some screen caps of Prime in robot mode with Soundwave, and the same goes for truck mode. So cannot wait to check these out. Definitely be sure to stay tuned to the channel sometime this week for at least a review on Optimus Prime. I would honestly love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below on some of these Reactivate designs. But there is just one last thing that I want to touch base with, that being there were a ton of listings shown off a couple of days ago. For this video, I'm only going to be discussing one of them, as it was by far the one that stood out to me the most, and it was official confirmation that in 2024, our next movie masterpiece will be Decepticon Brawl, who will conclude for the most part the Autobots and the Decepticons from that original live action Michael Bay movie. That's going to be awesome. I'm hoping he does include Frenzy, but once they do complete Brawl, maybe they'll go back a little bit and make a clunker Bumblebee. A Bumblebee which could transform into that classic 1977 Camaro would be epic, and maybe he will include Frenzy, as we do see Frenzy kind of fight off against the humans in the same scene that Bumblebee is in that alt form. So I'm super excited for Brawl to conclude the 07 Decepticons, but what comes after I think is going to be really interesting. Will they go into Revenge of the Fallen? Will they kind of pick characters from different movies instead of focusing on one film? I guess only time will tell, but very exciting times ahead. I would love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!